So we will officially begin the meeting, the West Neck Water District Board. Were you still looking at the minutes?
No.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions about the minutes? Some of these points are going to come back up in this meeting. And I think what we'll do is we'll move the meeting dates decision to the very end. Can we move that? So we don't hold Joe Corney up. That'll go there. Good afternoon, Joe.
Hello, Lisa, and hello, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
He's talking to you. Quiet day. I'm gonna, on our agenda, we're gonna decide on the 2024 meeting dates, but I'm gonna put that at the new business at the end and jump to the financial report. I guess I should call, can we approve the minutes from September?
I shall move.
Yes. Okay, so moved and seconded. I have seen, and I tried to get it up my phone, but I can't get it to work. I have seen from our class account, and I'm going to direct this to Amber, and that we still haven't paid SQA. Nothing has come out of there, so I'm wondering what's going on with.
I think we just needed to give that, I don't know if there was gonna, like, Joe, what you sent us, was that the formal billing, or is there something that you?
Yeah, no, I think either I sent it to you or Stephanie Hannon from our finance department sent it to you. But there was an invoice in there, Amber, I believe, and it was an invoice for backup, right? And then I think I sent you additional information. You were looking for the names on the accounts, and I think I provided that to you also.
Okay, I didn't realize that was the formal invoice. So
I'm pretty sure that was an invoice, yeah.
Okay, I will pass that on to the accounting clerk.
I'm going to see if I can pull it up, but I'm pretty sure it was. You can proceed, though. I'll see if I can, just to confirm.
Yeah, and we had some questions last month about the billing discrepancies, and that may be part and parcel to paying the bill. Because Amber received the customer spreadsheet that you're talking about, which was in fact an invoice. And there were some people who were overcharged, and one customer was never charged an access fee. And so we were to set up an appointment with customer service for clarification. I don't know.
I think that's what it said, yeah.
I didn't do that, and you did not either, so we need to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to put that on something we need to do soon.
Okay, yes.
Then we had also requested or asked, since West Neck Water District has a 3-tier rate structure in place, and Suffolk County Water has a 2-tier structure in place, we asked if we could bill customers, because this had been traditional, at the highest rate for the quarter. Like, in other words, if they had gone over a threshold, instead of sort of staggering up the bill until they got to the threshold and just pay that amount for however many 1,000 gallons they used. We had always traditionally in the past, if any time during the quarter, a customer jumped to the highest tier, that's what they were charged for all.
For all their water?
So we had asked about that, and you said it was an IT issue, and you were going to check if it could be coded that way, and you were going to get back to Amber on that. So I'm not sure.
I have to apologize. I did not follow up on that. I need to do
Okay,
that.
And I didn't circle back to you because I was super
Yeah.
busy as well.
All right.
So,
I will follow up on this for both of you, because I know you both got your hands full. And the third thing that we had asked last meeting was that if we could collect the sales monies and put it in our class account to take advantage of the interest. Right now, your squad's doing all of the collecting, and it's staying in your account. So we said, is there any possibility that we could collect the monies until such time as we pay you in June and hold it in our class account so we could take advantage of the interest as opposed to Suffolk County Water Authority? And you were going to check with your finance department and get back. So you probably didn't get to that either.
I did not get to that.
We'll
As you
follow up
say
on
it,
that.
yeah, as you say it, and as I think about it, yeah, I'll have to check on it and see if it's possible.
Well, yeah,
Might get complicated, you know what I mean? Because so then the bills would go out to the customers and they would be then remitting the money to you folks.
no.
And then if they did that, if they had a question on their bill, would they be talking to you or would they be coming to me?
No, what we were suggesting is on a quarterly basis. So you gave us the spreadsheet that showed us how much of a credit we had accumulated to pay towards the debt service. So
Right.
if we could get that paid to us quarterly instead of as an offset at the end of the year.
Right. All right, let me talk to finance and IT again about that.
would it be better if we just call the finance department?
Well, we could, or I could arrange a call between Chris Cachetto, the CFO, and you folks.
That would be good.
That might be a good way to go, sure.
Yes. And if we could do that after Thanksgiving.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll try to do it in December.
Yes.
Before that.
Definitely.
Okay. So those were the three billing questions that we had, and paying the, the surcharge, I think was sort of dependent on the clarification of
So
these issues.
I have two questions, and the first is about the third tier and billing everybody at the tier that they would be for the entire quarter based on their total usage for the quarter. And then there's this issue with you receiving the money instead of us. What's the third question?
The third question was, there were some people who were overcharged, and one customer was never charged an excess fee.
Okay,
So we were going to set up, you suggested setting up an appointment with customer service for clarification. I think what needs to happen is we need to go and identify which accounts those are, and then talk
All
to the customer service and say,
So-
why
so
did this
could-
person?
yeah, so
No.
could you do that? Could you identify those
Yes.
two accounts?
Yep,
And just
Yep.
email me the account numbers or the names of the homes, and I will pursue it that way?
what is better? Because really all that we have on your invoice is a physical address. We don't have an account number.
Okay, I thought the account numbers were on there, but that's okay. The physical address is fine.
Okay, if there is an account number, we'll use it. Okay, did you guys sort of clear on what
Yep.
this discussion?
Yeah, I don't know why I had always thought that there were 3 tiers of payment. I didn't realize that once you got to the top, you were billed for everything. That's commercial as well as residential.
Now, we can change that if, I mean, there was discussion that the way that Suffolk County Water charges is more, what's the word? Friendly, if you will.
Well, it's more equitable. in
It's more
terms of-
equitable.
Yeah.
So if we want to change that policy, we can.
No, I mean, is there other than greed, is there a philosophy behind it? You know?
No, it's
Greed's fine. I'm not.
unadulterated.
Greed is good.
Well, it would definitely collect more revenue, no question about that.
Yeah. But I think it's whether it can be billed, like if IT can make it into the
Yeah,
billing.
that's the first question. Can it be done?
All right,
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why it can't be done, because once we have the number, there's just gonna be a test that's gonna say, what tier does this overall consumption fall into? And then they charge you the rate that it falls into. So it sounds like it can be done. But I'll confirm with them.
And then, Joe, just to get back to account numbers, it's the column called contract account.
Yes.
okay, so that's there, okay. So, does that answer your question, Bob? Yeah. Okay. Then I suppose we can just move right into your report, Joe. We have down how the meter installations are going and the status of leaks.
Okay, so the meters have all been installed. And as you recall, we were having trouble getting those cellular meters that we wanted to use out there.
Right.
But and they're still on back order, and Itron is, I think, still quoting first or second quarter of next year. So we're going to continue on. We put in the drive-by meters, and when we do get the cellular meters, we'll change those out. But in the interest of getting the billing right and making the reading easier, we wanted to put in the regular drive-by meters. So they put them in. I think they finished last week. And so that's the good news. That's all done. We did identify 3 leaks in that process. And then, as you recall, we talked about the impact on customers when they'd have a leak. We talked about our leak policy, which does not accommodate people with PVC lines. I went back to our board and I asked them to make an exception in this particular case because we were changing out the meters, and because the meters were now located out at the street. The moment they put the new meters in, they were seeing leaks on a couple of these homes. So we notified the homeowners, and then I went back to our board, and our board allowed us a 30-day window of grace period per your suggestion, Lisa. The board agreed to give those folks that have a leak 30 days to fix the leaks, and then we would adjust their accounts and remove, our estimate of what the wasted water is. So I'm happy to tell you that everybody got their leaks fixed. Bob, you were one of them, and you were very cooperative and got it fixed for us. So that worked out great. And then Mrs. Gortzman, I think the pronunciation of her name is, she went, I think she had a new service line put in, but we verified that her leak stopped. The other person was, I think it was Swerdloff, actually. It might have been Peter.
Yes, Swerdloff.
Yeah, and he fixed it right away. I think he got a plumber out there pretty quickly and fixed it. So right now, as far as I know, all the leaks are fixed. Unless there's something that's popped up in the meantime.
Oh, no, let me continue this story. We had the leak fixed in our house, $3,000 later. Within days of the leak being fixed, one of your guys, again, let me say, the guys on the ground are wonderful to deal with. It's, when you get into the office, but.
Mike Mahone, probably.
Mike McMahon, yeah.
Mike Mahone, does the.
Mike or Steve, is there a Steve out there? Well, in any case, for good reason, Lois, my wife, handles most of this. But immediately another leak, the meter started spinning crazily, and another leak. And of course, it's a very small repair this time. It's really hard getting that plumber back. So 30 days, 60 days, I don't know. I wonder if there is any mechanism for PR, for efficiency, whatever, if there would be plumbers on tap no pun intended, on tap for SQA, people that, you've worked with who could, respond maybe more quickly? Or you kind of, no pun, washed your hands of that entirely?
Yeah, we refrain from recommending plumbers, Bob. I mean, we do have plumbers that we trust and that we have a very good relationship with,
Yeah.
but we just refrain from recommending them because they're not our employees and we don't know, they could be having a bad day and have a bad experience with you. And unfortunately, we don't want to vouch for them. So, if I would recommend you, whoever the plumber was that you had do that work, that maybe you keep his number handy in case you need him again.
Yeah,
I
no, I
think-
just keep pressing on with it. So there are no SQA employees who would like to moonlight? I'm sure a lot of them are probably
Yeah.
equipped for smaller jobs.
Yeah, we don't encourage them to do that. Actually, we even passed a rule many, many years ago that they were prevented from doing work on some of our customers' work. I think they were doing service lines, and we stopped them from doing that.
Probably a good idea. Okay.
Yeah, they have
Thank you.
kind of like the inside track on this, so we thought there was a conflict there.
That could be a good task for the board to take up going into the new year, is to perhaps cultivate some relationships with plumbers and have, that distributed to the customers. Because it's a very local, issue, right? I mean, we're talking about a challenge of finding some people who will either come to Shelter Island or are on Shelter Island in the case of an overnight type call.
We found, I was just texting my husband to get the name of that, but we finally found a plumber, Mid-Isle, that came on time and showed up. And I was thinking that, if there's a way that sort of a group of people who need plumbers, maybe at the same time, to get them to come, it's more easy for them to come to Shelter Island if it's not just one thing. Not Bobby Marcel, but Teodoro, it's like, sometimes he comes, sometimes he doesn't. So, and these are like real, they get the job done quickly. They're not the cheapest, but if maybe there's a way to find out if a group of people are in the same boat, entice them to come. I'll find the name and then.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you need a plumber, it's an emergency.
True.
Yeah.
So, you can't really get other people to have an emergency with you.
No, but Lisa,
I've done that before, no.
because I think it's a really good idea, a pool of maybe younger plumber, whatever, that would take the smaller jobs. We're not really necessarily talking about the big service line jobs.
No, I don't know what's involved.
I mean, the thing is,
Up to do what you have.
the plumbers on Shelter Island there's so few of them and they're in such demand.
Busy, yeah.
And that's why they don't get back to you.
Yeah.
Because they cannot handle the business. And that's true,
Yeah.
I think, of all of Eastern Suffolk. You've got an awful lot of service people, but they're just
Right.
over, they can't get it all done. And so they weed out.
And they want the big jobs because.
Exactly.
Right.
There's so much building going on here now,
Exactly.
and so if it's not like what I had, it's like, oh, it's too bad, we'll get to you, but they don't, I don't know, maybe there's some research in there we can figure out.
But this is all exacerbated by, Joe's point of the 30 days or whatever it is, when the pressure rises. I guess it was McMahon who called and said, so did you get it fixed yet?
Well, Mike was genuinely concerned,
Yeah.
we talk, and he was genuinely concerned that you and Ms. Gortzman got your repairs done. I mean,
Yeah, no, we appreciate, as I said, it's terrific working with the squads on the ground. Yeah.
I mean, we can look into this, and we used to, West Neck Water did have a plumber. We had Will Anderson was our plumber many, many years ago. So if we needed to call, he was sort of the guy that we called. We could try to do that with someone else if, So if everybody wants to start looking for plumbers, talk to them.
I'll get the name of this guy. But
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
potential is there for you to have more leaks. I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
now, maybe not more leaks, but now you're gonna know about the leaks, right? Because before, Bob, you had a leak in your service line and your meter wasn't picking it up, so you didn't even know about it. And everybody else is in the same boat. So now they have a meter out at the street. It's gonna be seeing any leaks that are on those service lines. And unfortunately, from what we've seen, a lot of the folks that we're serving out there have service lines that are made out of very thin wall PVC. That is not, it's not state of the art at this point for PVC. It doesn't last long, and it is prone to leaks.
Yeah.
So, we'll keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't become too much of an issue. But the meters are going to pick them up, and I think I told you that the meters have a leak detection feature built into them. So what I think I'm gonna do is when we finally I think Mike is reading the meters next week or the week after. So once we do the November reads, I may have them switch over to monthly reads of your meters just for the next year or so.
That would be very good. That would be
yeah.
excellent, Joe. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, we're still reading Daring Harbor's monthly also because we went through a similar process with Daring Harbor when we took over that
Yep.
system too. And it does allow us to catch a leak, during the month, not
Yep.
waiting for an entire quarter for the leak to show up.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if we, eventually we're going to go to quarterly reads, or eventually we're going to do cellular reads actually, and that should be very good because that equipment, I believe, will tell you right away when you have a leak. And
Yeah.
it alerts you, right? You don't have to go out there and read the meter. It's constantly talking back to the mothership, so to speak.
And the customer has access to that
And the
conversation.
customer will have access to the read information. Right.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that
what
would be
all looks
terrific.
like right now because it's all new technology and it's, supposedly there's a website. I'm not sure if we'll put it on our website or there'll be a special website to go to, but that'll be handy once that goes into service.
Great. That'd be great. Can I go circle back to what you said? The second leak that you found was that in your house?
That was
Something-
discovered by the new meters. The spinning, and we were told about it by Squab,
Mike,
by Mike, yeah, he said, hey, Charlie, and, we tracked it, and we found an upstairs toilet running in time for Thanksgiving, and so, getting Bobby back after the $3,000 job is going to be really hard,
Yeah.
because this does not seem to be like a major job, and I think that's a recurring problem.
yeah,
That's what you talked about, it's the big job or, do it yourself.
yeah, that's true.
Well, I think like I had said is that, with your rate structure, and the rates being, pretty hefty, a leak, a 1 gallon a minute leak leaks 1,500 gallons a day. And that's over 30,000 gallons. That's 45,000 gallons a month. That's a lot of water and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you really have to be cognizant of that.
So, that comes actually down to my thoughts about a customer survey and informing customers, again, to understand that is their responsibility from the curb stop to the house,
Right.
and that the potential, as you say, for leaks is very great. The risk is high. So they need to be aware of that. And then, just reiterating over and over again to customers that they could be paying more than they think, as it isn't just the rates, but it's potential for leaks.
Sure.
So that might be something that,
Well, the second leak was brought to our attention by Squaw. So then the question is, how are these leaks that you're talking about going to be brought to the customer's attention? Or are they waiting for the big bill?
Well, I think what Joe just said, they're going to do monthly reads.
I'll do-
That's
we'll do
still-
monthlies, yeah, for a little
That's
while.
still,
Yep.
yeah, as he just outlined it, all of a sudden, we're talking gallons of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because even in a month, Bob, I mean, like I said, it could be a big deal, but at least it
Right,
won't be
yeah.
an entire quarter.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's no real answer.
Would you like me to do a mailing to the customers and let them know that, now that we're playing a different game now, the service lines are now part of their house and part of their system?
That's a wonderful idea, yeah.
Yeah, I think
That
so.
would be a
People
good
don't
one.
know that.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll put a letter together to go out. I'll show it to you before I send it.
Yep.
And in that letter, I mean, I think I probably should, but just remind everybody that now the customers are responsible for their service line.
Yes.
Okay.
That wasn't previously the case, Lisa?
No.
Yep, well, it was for me.
No, because of the meters were located in the house.
Right.
So from curb stop to the meter, all the surface line was,
No, I
if
found
we
that
had a
because it
leak,
was a pump in
it
my
wasn't
yard.
recorded.
It was
Right.
recorded,
You weren't
but,
paying for it.
but if
Yeah.
a new house was built, who paid for the installation of the line? Who owned the service line, even though the meter was in the house?
Well, I mean,
Did the
it was still, it was the customer. The customer has always been responsible
Okay, so
for
that's,
the line going from the curb stop to the house. That's always been the customer.
It's just not been able to be identified, but the responsibility has, and the ownership hasn't changed under contract.
No.
right?
No, there has been no change of ownership.
Okay,
The only thing that has changed is now the customer is going to pay for any leaks along that line, whereas before, they didn't because it wasn't recorded.
nobody
well,
knows.
they did indirectly, I suppose. Now the penalty is much higher because it's now it's metered.
Well, the district paid for the leaks.
The district paid for it.
Yeah. And
Right.
that, and
Yeah,
that
we
was a
talked about
conversation we had for years, is like, all of this water loss,
Right.
that's revenue lost. So now it's not, it's going to be collected revenue, even though we're going to be the ones paying for it. But I mean, it's going to elevate the integrity of the system all the way around.
If you do the math on those 3 leaks, right? If they were all, and I think Mike had said they were like a gallon a minute each. So if they were a gallon a minute, that's what I did the math was 45,000 for 1 leak. So that's like 150,000 gallons a month that's leaking. That's a significant portion of the pumpage.
That's
you know,
right.
during the off season. So I'm going to be very interested to see what the pumpage looks like, because this will have a positive impact on the amount of water that we're pumping. We'll be taking less, obviously.
Well, I think you mentioned it was 6 million gallons, but we were only collecting revenue for 4.
Right. Yep.
So that's 2 million gallons lost somewhere.
Well, I
Leaks.
hope it's not that significant, but remember the whole accuracy of the meters was in question,
Yeah.
but now we have a good meter in the pump station, metering how much water is pumped out of the ground, and now we have good meters on the customers. So we should have a better idea as to what the lost water is.
What is the next step, Joe?
So the next step right now, and the thing that we are pursuing fervently, is getting the permits for the replacement wells over on the golf course. The permits applications are in with the DEC. They've been in there for quite a while now. And we are tickling them on almost a weekly basis that we would like them to issue the permits. The DEC is notoriously slow, something that we've all kind of grown accustomed to. But I met with Jennifer Pelkowitz the other day, that runs the water section in Stony Brook at the DEC, and she assured me that she would put it at the top of the list. So that's our objective right now, is to get those permits. Once we get them, and we'll start talking about the schedule for when the driller will come in and install the new wells. And my engineering department is working on the layout of the revised electrical system, because that was part of this. that will allow us to run the wells in any configuration that we want and to do it all remotely. I think I remember I told you that you can't run both of those wells on the golf course property simultaneously because there's a restriction on the electric service that's over there. So we want to revise all of that so that we have complete flexibility to run whatever well we want, whenever we want, and to be able to do it remotely from our control center. So that's our big objective right now. That's the winter project, is to replace those wells and do the electric work. And I did speak to someone at DASNY. We got an inquiry from DASNY a couple of weeks ago. They said the grant had been approved. They were looking for some more information from them. I sent it to them, and then I heard crickets. But I reached out to them again this morning, and they assured me that they're working on it, but it's just part of their process that things take a little while to get these the grants completely approved. But it's looking good right now with DASNY.
Could we safely say it will be within 2024?
The work or the money? What's the
The
question?
money? The money?
I don't know how fast they pay. I mean, it's a function of how fast I do the work, because we have to do the work and present them the invoice. So whatever the turnaround is for them to pay, I can't imagine it being very long, but they may have to come out and inspect the work or something before they pay for it. I'm not sure what their procedures are. I've never worked with DASNY before. But so far so good. I mean, they seem pretty responsive, and as slow as things are going, they seem to be, pretty on top of things.
Just to make sure I'm on the right one, grant, this is the 500,000?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, what's the expectation for the permits for the well replacement and the construction? What's your thoughts on turnaround time for that?
Well, I would like to, in general, I can't speak to when the permits would be done, but my intention would be to get these wells drilled over the winter, out of the golf season, so to speak. And we can do the electrical work right after that.
The specs on the.
Good.
Sorry, go ahead.
We might even do the electrical work beforehand, just to get it done, right? Because we got to run some conduits across the street. We have work to do. There's significant work to do.
You're not going to cut the street again, are we?
Well, we'll see. I'm not sure whether we'll drill it or what, but.
And are the specs on the wells finalized, or is that pending the permits?
No, they're submitted as 100-gallon-a-minute wells. So there'd be 2 wells at 100 gallons a minute. That'd be 200 gallons a minute, where we have 50 now.
It would be great to get it done before next summer.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, yeah, because I think that, a lot of our other issues are dependent on these wells. I don't think I know that they're dependent on the wells. So things
Yeah.
like the water pressure at the hotel,
Yep.
things like connecting up additional folks that want to be connected, all of that hinges on having additional capacity.
Yep. Definitely.
The road work looks great, Joe.
Yes, I was going to tell you, everybody that was asking,
That's
when
good
are
to
we going
hear.
to fix the road? It looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And I think that's all completed, right?
Yeah, there's nothing else to do now. With the meter change outs, that's pretty much it. So just knock on wood, we don't have any leaks and we don't have to cut the road up.
Well, I was curious about putting the lines under the highway, but, if that's what you do, that's what you do.
Yeah, yep.
Anybody have any questions? No?
Sunset Beach is moving along, no,
Well, there,
with their renovations, with their changes, with the toilets and,
I haven't spoken to Ledge, I think his name is. I haven't spoken to him in a little while, so he was very receptive to it, said he was going to do it. So we'll reach out to him.
yeah. No, I mean, it seemed it's something that they needed to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
they closed shop. They probably just
Yeah,
don't
right.
think about these things anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's nothing, I can't think of anything else. I mean, my brain's sort of a little mushy right now, but, you know, I think we just have to get those financial questions.
Yeah, that'll be our
Remediated,
focus
and then
right now in
we'll-
the short term.
All right, well, thanks, Joe, for the update.
Okay.
And we look forward to that letter coming out, you know, reminding
Yeah.
customers.
I'll work on that next week.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
All right, and
Take care.
congratulations, Amber. Look
Thank
forward to
you.
working with you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice holiday. Have a nice Thanksgiving on everybody.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
The only old business that I had outlined was what we had brought up with regards to the three financial questions. The leaks, you know. So new business, in thinking about what you went through, Bob, and other customers, I was wondering about issuing a customer survey to find out what customers, this doesn't have to be like immediate, but we as a board send out to customers and just sort of get their response as to the satisfaction. So far, you know, because I've heard people cursing squaw, and I've
What
heard
basis?
high bills,
Pardon?
well, I shouldn't say cursing, complaining that, you know, their bills are high, and,
Higher than they were before?
yeah, which we knew that was going to happen anyway.
Right.
So I don't know, what do you think? Should we put out some kind of customer survey just to see what the feedback is?
I think it's a good idea, but it's kind of early. I think, do we really know what they're doing with the new, I mean, it's the new meter system that's going to really drive the action, I think, and give us an idea of just how they do operate and what happens and how responsive they are or not, or, you know, what problems come up. No, I think it's a wonderful idea. We should do it. I mean, they should do it, actually. But yeah, we should do it. I'm just wondering if we should wait a little while until, but
They do offer us a customer survey, but I don't know that it would be tailored to the questions that we would be most interested in here. If there are questions that are sort of specific to this capital improvement project, that's something we would have to look to do on our own.
That's why I thought we would do it, because that's really where,
They do have a survey, but it would be more suited for any of
Theirs
their
is for
customers.
everybody.
It would ask about, and I've taken one, it's, you know, about, do you find the portal to be accessible, you know, for making payments and things like that? The service calls responsive, some stuff applies here. But if we had questions particular to the projects that we've done, that wouldn't be captured.
I just don't think that, you know, since the changes have been made, but I don't think that many people understand what they're doing. Like, you know, as far as testing the water and all of the other things that we talked about, that for a long time, that no one really understands why this is an upper scale method of finding out things. I don't know whether it's drug related, with things that they have done where they have purified the water. Does that make sense? Or it's just that, so why we brought them in the first place, and what things that they do that are costing more money than what they were paying before, and what that entails.
I agree with Donna in concept totally. If there was a communication that we would be looking for in the short term, I think an update letter on everything that's been accomplished so far would be the most appropriate communication, because even us as a board sitting here, you know, we got a lot of outstanding things and we're closing out a lot of big tasks. I think it would be helpful for the customer to now get sort of a season closure as to
end of the year.
all of the things that were done, and some, you know, maybe some points about what to look for or to be
In the future.
attentive to in the coming months. You know, new meters are in. If you're out of town for the winter, you know, you might find yourself getting a phone call about a new leak or something like that. Put people on notice. Because I sense we've kind of fallen a little bit further from updating the customers than we wanted to be with the progress of these projects.
I agree with that. I think that it's important to stay in touch with the customers. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they're going to put a letter out reminding customers of the service line and potential for leaks. But I think that you can say that many, many times over.
That actually might be the opportunity to do all these things, is say,
Yeah,
ask them to just include in the letter everything that they finished or what's still outstanding,
okay.
you know?
Yeah,
Because, you know, as an entity, we've got a lot to be really proud of for accomplishing in a pretty short order. But effectively, the entire system either has been or will be replaced within 12 months. A full distribution system, new metering, new road surfacing,
Yeah.
soon to be well replacement, you know, some compliance related upgrades and things that aren't customer facing. But, you know, honing in specifically on the numbers, we are about to eliminate almost 2 million gallons per year of wasted water. So, you know, that in itself is an accomplishment worth touting. And it was a partnership, you know, it's not just them, but certainly it's everybody that was participating in that. Those are really proud things, I think, to talk about, given the nature of water and the conversations we have in the community. And these, you know, live metering options, this is like cutting edge stuff that nobody else on the island really has or is even talking about. Certainly the Heights system doesn't have that kind of capability. And I don't want to say we've gone from like worst to first, but that's kind of the case. You know, we were inefficient and
we are paying a sum for this.
and we are now, you know, we are now top of the line, as I might say.
And it gets back into,
Contaminants that they never found before. I mean,
The testing protocol really hasn't changed significantly. Certainly the testing that's required is still the same because it comes from other regulating agencies. But what we did find, and Lisa can attest to this, is that in instances where you saw something that was flagged, we are not paying out of pocket for additional diagnosis type testing. A few years ago, there was the PFAS flare up. Those tests cost several $1,000s to run in a way that could help you identify the cause and course of action. Our new relationship effectively allows for infinite testing at no cost for us. That hasn't become an issue, or that hasn't really shown itself quite yet. But we did have a situation just before entering this relationship with Suffolk Water where it really did hurt us, cost us a lot of money, and it made our approach to solving the problem a bit more challenging. Everybody's apprehensive about should we take another test? Should we take another test here to help rule out the variables? So that situation is very real, and it was relatively recent. We're set up to not have that problem again now.
Right.
In terms of water quality, though,
Testing.
we've not seen any significant change. But
as quality?
water quality, groundwater quality.
Okay.
But that brings up another point, which is if a customer wanted to find out the results of a test, it's a little bit of a labyrinth to get there. So that it would be something even to include in the update is 4 test results, because they're included in all of Suffolk County water testing results. Like
In the annual report.
An annual
In
report.
the annual report.
We don't have anything
there's
separate.
nothing specific for Shelter Island.
Yeah,
It is. It's your testing panel is included. It's just in the report with all of the other.
But it is available.
Yes, every customer actually gets a copy, is obliged to get a copy
well,
every.
we don't. We don't get a hard copy, or we don't get a copy like we used to.
A paper copy.
We don't get that now.
You have to get a copy of it. I don't know that you have to get a paper copy anymore, but everybody has to have access to, it's a requirement to the annual water quality report. I don't know that comes as like an invitation and a link via your bill now, but everybody has to have a copy of it.
That's a good question, because I don't know. Does anybody remember? I mean, I might have gotten a notice that I didn't pay attention to.
They're also publicly available, but you wouldn't know to look for them. publicly
Exactly.
available unless.
exactly.
knew about it in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to let customers know
Yeah.
this is where it is.
Yeah, the other important thing to know about the testing procedures is that as a township, we don't collect those or even see those on a day-to-day operational basis. Suffolk Water is responsible as the operator for
Right.
taking those tests. They facilitate the tests, and then the test results go from the laboratory. They get notified straight to the regulator, which in this case is the county health department. So they are sort of the keepers of all of the data as the regulator. We, as the owner of the system, aren't involved, perhaps like we used to be when John Hallman was operating the system. Now it kind of passes through us. We are notified whenever there's a violation or a trigger or something of concern, but we are not involved in the
Collection.
collection or even the noticing of
So theoretically, we could call the county and ask for such results?
That's right, and they have all of the information.
And they are supposed to be making them accessible to customers?
Oh, absolutely. That's all publicly available information. They have their own FOIL program.
Yeah. Now, you said that there was a situation that had come up just before the deal was made with Squaw. Do you remember that there was some big,
Oh, the PFAS?
was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that have any impact on your decision to go with Squaw?
Yes, because if we have to deal with PFAS, they will take care of it and make all of the improvements. Whereas if we were running it ourselves, we would have been on the hook. So all 69 customers would have had to pay for
Yeah.
the $300,000 that was needed to, at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily bringing it up. The last thing you do in your old job. But it has been brought up today about explaining why we made the deal with Squaw and what were the results so far. Were we happy? Were we unhappy? Because I really have no idea why we made the deal.
Well, the biggest impetus to the deal, I mean, the town was pressuring West Neck Water to be absorbed by Squaw. I mean, the town was pressuring West Neck Water for a couple of years. But the precipitate was the fact that John Hallman resigned and we had no manager.
Right.
And we tried very hard to find a manager, and there's a dearth of people with the type of licensure to manage a system. There's different levels of systems. And you have to have a manager by law. You have to have somebody there every day. And that was the hurdle we couldn't get over and say, no, we're doing good. We're just self-sustaining. I was having this conversation with the town. We're doing okay. We can run ourselves. But once we didn't have a manager and we couldn't find a manager, that's when it became a necessity to really think hard and look at Squaw as managing the system. That was, I think, in my head anyway, that was the generating force to say.
I would add the upcoming need for major infrastructure upgrades as a challenge as well. Figuring out how to manage that independently, as a township, that was a challenge. That wasn't necessarily a hard deadline, but it was something we had to.
No, it was a consideration.
Yeah, and also the cost of those upgrades, Suffolk County Water Authority can do those much more efficiently than we can. And so if we had taken on the same infrastructure changes, and we actually weren't even comparing apples to apples, we were comparing apples to oranges, because they have gone further, like with meters, all of those kinds of upgrades. It would have been instead of like the bill, everyone's bills doubling, they would have gone up 2.25 times because of the cost for us to try and find and hire a manager to come in and cover, as well as the infrastructure upgrades. We might have spread them out over a longer period of time, but that had been happening over the years, and we kept chasing, okay, we think we've got enough money that we can do these infrastructure, improvements now, and then the costs had risen. So then we were chasing the money again and delaying some things. So there were many factors.
No, that makes more sense because the engine of the deal was the town. It wasn't West Neck Water.
Initially, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did it. We didn't do it.
Right, but we brought you in because, you were realizing too that this.
The engine was West,
But we were working on parallel tracks at that
Yes.
time.
the engine was West Neck Water, who was without a manager who needed to decide how this system was gonna continue. The engine wasn't the town, it was West Neck Water.
And the
Water was already there.
the capital improvements, although were slated to be done, were a requirement of Suffolk County Water Authority for them to become the operator. Sort of like bringing the system to a state of good repair before they assumed
Right.
operation. So that brought the capital improvements from, a future date up to it has to be done right now. And the other most important thing that was considered that heavily impacted costs and infrastructure was that once we made this commitment to make these capital improvements, all subsequent capital improvements would not be paid for at the direct expense to the district. And Amber touched on that with regard to the testing procedure. But we agreed with Suffolk Water to make this $1.7 million investment for set improvements. They agreed that if anything happened thereafter, you wouldn't have to directly pay for that. It would be paid for out of the general maintenance and operating fund of the entire Suffolk County water system. The testing that Amber was referring to is a good example of that. When we had initially met with Bob Holzmacher for doing this project by herself, it was a $400,000 line item for PFAS filtration system. At the time, we thought we had a growing issue and we needed to plan for filtration. Because of that ability to test cheaply with Suffolk Water, we were able to understand that it wasn't in fact a PFAS problem in the groundwater, it was a PFAS problem in the plumbing. And it was triggering a test that was higher than the actual content in the water. In any case, their conclusion was you don't need to plan for PFAS treatment now, because it turns out you don't have a PFAS problem with the groundwater. However, if in the future you do develop a PFAS problem, we will provide that cost of filtration and, do the work at no additional cost.
Although I will say the PFAS in well number 6, it still reads high.
It still
It's
still
not
reads.
it's detected,
It still reads,
but
it
it
doesn't
still
read high.
reads. So
Yeah.
that didn't go away with reconstruction completely. It
It's
just didn't,
lower, but it's not eliminated.
right.
Mhm.
Didn't bring us through the threshold.
Not over the
Right.
threshold.
Yeah. Yep. The answer.
From my vantage point, that was the strongest consideration, is eliminating future liabilities to the system because of the cost of such repairs. The district and the town are not set up for absorbing those types of repairs or improvements like what would be needed without a huge increase in cost to the customer.
Yep.
Well, even just the scheduling of personnel, having someone come over on a daily basis and running the testing that we need to do. We had this, working on this plan where we had this person who retired from Riverhead or was working there part-time, but then we were going to need coverage 2 days a week and on vacations and holidays and sick days from the Heights if they were willing to continue that. And we would have been, this board would have been trying to figure out how do we schedule these people, whereas now it's like County Water Authority. It's up to them to send the people over on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, the days of individual municipal water districts running themselves are slowly are dissipating because it's just very costly and regulations are so stringent that it's almost impossible.
Certainly.
And I didn't believe that, but I learned in the conversation.
There's so much more knowledge now of where we are today, what they have. That I think that people just still don't understand what they're bringing to the table. But they do understand the fact that they've had experiences with their water, that whether West Neck Water, the costs involved with that.
Right.
I think that's, and I don't know how many, will they be able to expand more and more of the West Neck water outside of the homes we have already?
That's our hope.
If they know about this, and
Yes.
everybody is much more aware, there's a lot of, nuance of people, myself, whatever, but that they're like, oh, and they can explain to their friends, like, get rid of the old, oh, it's dangerous, it's cancerous water, all of these stories that everybody brought to the table, but they happen to have all of that information at their hands, and I think that would be something that people would really like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are definitely people who'd like to be on the system right now, but until we get a well, we cannot
For
move
the
the conversation.
conversation we had about that, yeah.
What do you think, Bob? Do you think there's still confusion about the relationship or the need for the relationship?
I think there's a lot of confusion, and on that basis, let me ask an out-of-line question. You were much more advanced in your thinking early on than we were obviously, and even now, aware of. Why didn't you just keep going? I mean, it seems to me the dream of a town-wide system is the only thing that ultimately really makes sense with all the different problems in different neighborhoods.
The immediate problem was West Neck water. But that was an issue we had to solve, so we did. Now Suffolk County Water is here, so we can certainly look at other issues. But that was the problem. We didn't bring Suffolk County Water here to address the island. We brought them here specifically to address
For a
West Neck
specific
water.
problem.
Yes.
I see.
And
In retrospect, do you think that how this has worked out so far, do you think it would have been interesting or a good idea or whatever to just keep going?
What do you mean by keep going?
I mean, the keep going is the future, that it's gonna keep going. But at the pace when the public demands it. Suffolk County Water has the ability, before they were here, to come and expand if the public wanted it. But the public has to want it.
Public didn't know, really. I mean, the public was in the, what is the public, even now, what does the public know?
But we
I don't
don't
know, when she tells-
we don't need island-wide water. We don't
Yeah.
need it all over the island.
Mhm.
There are just pockets. So Silver Beach might be an area that we need to run a line to. Menantic
Claire.
Peninsula is
Possibly
another
Ranch,
one.
right.
But, and then the center, if, see what happens with the water survey with the results for the center, the nitrates. But other parts of the island don't need the public water. So we don't need to build that kind of infrastructure island-wide. So we should just look at it piecemeal as needed.
From an engineering point of view, would it make sense in any way, fiscally or whatever, to have a town-wide service?
When you say townwide, you mean periphery to, the full extent of the island?
Yeah, the whole island.
No, I don't think so. Certainly it's possible. There's nothing that prevents that from an engineering standpoint. But I don't think it's necessary from a water quality and availability standpoint. And more importantly, I don't think there's demand for it. So if you don't have the demand from the public, then those projects can't get any traction. I think what we're seeing now is some smaller pockets, some communities that are actually demanding this because they have a real problem. But there are many other neighborhoods that it's not necessary and nobody seems to want it. This structure allows us to grow into those areas only when there's demand, which I think is most important. It's certainly, from an engineering perspective, I could say you need it or you don't need it, but it doesn't really matter compared to whether people say they want it or they don't want it. If they want it, then we have the opportunity to go there, but if they don't want it, we can't force, there's no need to force them to it,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to move us along because we have one more item, and that is the meeting dates for 2024. So we typically would meet the last Friday of the month. Forgetting December, January 26th, March 29th, June 28th, September 27th. That's based on quarterly. That's 3 months. If we want to continue to meet quarterly, or we want to meet bi-monthly, What do you want to do? Quarterly means every 3 months.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You can always call a meeting. I mean, if issues evolve, would that be inefficient or?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if we have to have an emergency meeting, we can call it. It's just that for the sake of the town's itinerary, it's good if we can just identify which dates, like, we want to do tonight.
So you're saying the next one would be January?
January 26th.
Yeah, so I could be on a Zoom, but I'm probably physically January, February, March. I'll come in March, so,
Okay.
you know, but I won't be around January.
Someplace warmer.
Miami. She goes to Miami.
Yeah, we just rebuilt our building after a year, so yeah, I'm gonna be there. But Zoom is available,
Yeah.
and so
Okay.
that's just me personally. But March is fine, and what was the other 2 dates you said?
June 28th and September 27th, and then December is always iffy because you've got the holidays. The last Friday is the 27th.
Yeah.
And I don't think we want to do that. We could meet either the 13th or the 20th of December, just to get something on the books.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any preference, which one?
December 30th,
December 13th?
December 13th?
Yeah,
I know I can't make that.
okay.
That's the middle of the week, isn't it?
No, it's a Friday. Or the 20th, if you want.
2024.
This is 2024.
2024. We can't, the
Yeah.
27th, forget about it. So that's the towing costs, the 13th and the 20th. So the
Either one,
20th,
it's a matter for me, because this is next year.
you're right,
I can make it.
okay.
So we're in,
Put it on the
Hope you're not
book.
booked up already for that long, yeah.
I hope so, too.
you're talking about December 2024,
Yes,
and that's
either the,
the 20th?
or the 13th, which you cannot be
Oh,
here.
I see. Does it come with a guarantee we'll be here?
I don't know, that's not my department.
Say be here, you mean,
Be here, right.
I think the 13th,
Stairs.
I think the 13th, because that gets into
Yeah,
Christmas week.
I
the
kind of
20th.
agree. So I'm going to put down the 13th.
Yeah.
So,
why not?
Coco,
take
do you
a
need us to
vacation,
go over
Bob?
those dates again?
Yes,
All right, January 26th,
Right.
23, March 29th, 24, June 28th, September 27th, and December 13th.
okay.
Those are the,
I didn't write down the right dates, but I'll get them back from you.
So, do you remember when we
you-
got the
Sorry.
the word on which boards could utilize hybrid meetings for quorums and which ones don't? I feel like West Neck Water is eligible for a quorum via
Yes.
hybrid.
West Neck Water District voted to keep meetings hybrid
No,
for the quorum.
yeah, for the quorum purposes. Because I know planning board has to be a quorum in person, town board has to be in person.
Well, West Neck doesn't have to be in person,
Okay, I just want to make sure
Okay.
because
Right.
technically it's a board, not a.
but it's not a voting on.
It's not, okay, just, I wanted to
So
just
we-
double check that.
We
So-
can go through those one more time.
Yeah.
January,
26th, March 29th, June 28th, September 27th, and December 13th. So we can have a quorum with you, Donna, from Zoom.
Yes,
Okay.
That's what I was trying to double check.
gotcha.
Very good. If there are no other questions, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Okay,
I say hi.
all right,
That's it for you.
yeah. It is.
Unless you'd like to come in December 13th this year.